please don't take me wrong, because, and don't get mad at me, because it's and because I believe that you can believe in God if that's helpful, if that concept is helpful to you. This is how we really view it, and that is this: we believe in our minds, and that all blame solely lies within us, and that everything that happens solely lies within us. Again, back to karma. We have the choice to do good or evil. And what if we choose evil, then naturally that's what we're going to get back. So ultimately, no, we don't believe that there's like a puppet master up there pulling the strings. Pretty much, it's pretty much the Big Bang Theory with a lot of very interesting how things came about stories from, as you might imagine, from an 8th century, and before that sort of mentality. And these people are also living up in the Himalayas in India, where things are just different there, and being up at that altitude makes you see and feel things a lot differently, for sure. So anyway, we do have deities. These deities are aspects of our minds. We do deity practice to hook into that aspect of our mind that say weather, obstacles, Tara's very much a strong protector. So when we need a certain, shall we say, it almost gets a little magical now at this point, and we're talking a little bit Vajrayana now. And so that's, and Tantra. Tantra a lot of times is very misunderstood to mean only sex, but when it comes to deity practice, and I'm sure you've seen talkas perhaps of deities that were in sexual embrace, otherwise known as yabyum. That is a way, an esoteric way of seeing ourselves as one with that magical, but yet still very, we want to bring it back to the relative realm. And so we see ourselves in embrace with this deity that has the power to protect, the power to repel, magnetize, whatever that we might need help with at that particular time. So we find ourselves embraced with that deity, and thereby dissolving that deity into ourselves and taking on their strength, their fearlessness in our own mind, so that we can become that ourselves. I don't want to overstep things and say, oh, we're empowering ourselves as God. No, we have faith, and we are empowering ourselves with that power that we need for that particular circumstance. There's many. For one instance, there's Powa, and that's the transfer of consciousness at the time of death. And that's when the lamas come and say prayers for the person that's just died, or or they can be present or not, or they can do it after even the person's died. But that's so that when the person is has passed and they're in the bardos, these Dewa Chen Polwa prayers, you go to that person and you assist them in successfully what do I want to say? Traversing the bardos into their next existence, and you lead them to a higher realm, and not to get distracted by dull lights, because that could lead to a rebirth in the animal realm, say. So that's what the Powa is all about. So I kind of got a little off. I got a little off track there, but still in the same vein of teaching, I think. I hope that was helpful in some way.
Did you want me to come back on? TJ, we lose you? Well, until she gets back in.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay. Tommy, you can't hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So there's feedback right now, so I'll have to turn one of you off. But how do you want to do this?
I'm going to leave this one on. I shut the other one off.
Oh, okay. All right. You want to keep going with questions?
Well, did you want to ask me anything before we go back to her questions?
Well, what I wanted to know is did you want to add anything before we get into? I'd like to get some more into the Tibetan Buddhism and then India, and just sort of get her to give some stuff like that. But I just want to know if you wanted to cover anything real quick.
Actual death and
why don't you interview her?
Of what happens.
All right, I'm going to turn this over to. I'm going to let you interview her for, the next part, because I've asked her my questions, but I'd still like to know a lot more about Buddhism, and we've still got an hour and 6 minutes. But I'll put me on mute, and you could ask her a question and let her answer it on the same phone if you want, so we don't have feedback. Maybe you could talk, like Richard Dolan and his girlfriend or something, since we don't have you live on. Hopefully, we'll have you both live someday. We're working on it. But in the meantime, why don't you? You know where I'm going, and I want to know more about Buddhism and stuff. But the reincarnation, I know people are going to want to know that, and how. What do you say to a friend like me that's had a loved one lost and stuff, and how do we console others? But it's only been a couple of weeks for me, and I'm still in shock and awe and my pain and my head and all that. But you two talk to people, like it doesn't matter if we're Christian or Buddhism or anything. We've got things in common. Our soul, and we're born, we live, we die. Some may believe in extraterrestrials like I do, and starseeds, and Buddhism's fine, Zen's fine, all the world religions. But wherever we want to go with this, and then you can go, you look at your list and have her look at the list. And, just help me out here. I'm going to go on mute and let you talk to her for a while.
Okay.
All right, you monitor.
I just want to say,
I'm going to be listening. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just want to say, for me, the experiences that I went through are a lot different than the ones that Namgyal went through. Our religion, our beliefs, our teachings, and the people we're around help create a reality that we kind of stay in. It's not what we need to be in, but it's what we're put in. The karma brought us into that reality. It's up to us to move forward, backwards, or stay there. We have that choice constantly. We can listen to what we're guided to do or not. Now, the difference is And I hate to put it this way, most religions have no concept of it. They don't deal with it at a higher level to understand it, where what's really going on in between all that. Now, I know where you're at. When I was young, I was 16, and I lost 20 of my best friends within 1 year. My best friend, I was going with his sister, and then when he died, I couldn't even face her. I mean, karma, death, when you're in it, it's different. When you talk about it or you read about it, it's so different. But love, the love we create, and I go into that a lot because people don't understand love. Multiple levels of love, multiple kinds of love. And to me, there's only one important one. And most religions never touch it, the love of God. I mean, you could love yourself, you could love the world, but you don't love God. See, my experience through death, life, reincarnation, past life experiences, and all that, for me, touching that is the only thing that's important. You can go through experience after experience and then understanding things of earth. When you let go of the physical body, what you are, you can call it consciousness or soul, is different. You can't stick a needle through it. You can't chop it in half. You can't burn it. So when you read Dante's Inferno and he gives all these levels of death to a person when they go to hell, it's what he perceived and what he came up with. But, facing Lucifer, which I did once in my life, people don't want to give credit to things that I know are real. For me, whether you perceive it as your higher self, like with my higher self, I was in a religion and everybody would always say, my higher self. I think your higher self is you, changing from a person to your higher self. You're always you as your higher self. Whether you want to think as a higher self or a lower self, that's your choice. But that doesn't make you a creator. It doesn't make you God. And I was just telling somebody that even the Japanese scientist actually came out and said it. And he's one of the top scientists in the world right now, who said creation has to be guided by something higher than what we can perceive. Because no way would cells and multiply and develop into something better. And mankind is the most perfect reality for a living consciousness than a amoeba or a worm or a caterpillar or whatever. And we receive a higher awareness. And that awareness helps you learn about the soul of what it is. Now, when we're getting back to when you lose a soul and you're connected to it, nothing's worse on this planet. I don't care what people say, and it doesn't go away and it doesn't change. It's the only way you can really learn to deal with it is slowly understanding where the other soul goes or where that person goes. Now, I'm going to give it back to Namgyal to explain all that, what Buddhism believes about that. I had 5 death experiences, and I know you did too, TJ. And when you have that, it changes that reality to a person. Now, I spent years listening to people that had a death experience. And I'll tell you this, all the ones I listened to, very few of them could actually explain what they went through. The only thing they can come back with is the angel was there, God was there, Jesus was there, or their uncle or whatever. Now, the only reason why they say that, that's the only thing the mind can perceive. Now, because when you leave your body, you're no longer dealing with anything physical, nothing that relates to anything that's relating to planet Earth or to physical reality. So when you have that experience, which I did, and they're not the same. When you go into a different reality and you see lights and energy and stuff, you're not dealing with people, you're not dealing with words and things. So it's so different. And if you don't see that, you're not looking at the experience. But all these people that come back and say, I had death experience and now they're spiritual. Dying doesn't make anybody better. When you cross over, or you translate or you ascend to the next level, you don't stay there if you're not aware. You can't stay somewhere where you don't know where you are. And then something that nobody talks about, which I'll say before I give it back to Namgyal, is the silver cord. People don't talk about that no more. One person who was really famous did it on TV in a show, and she talked about it, and that was out on a limb when she was talking about her when she left her body and everything, and she saw the silver cord. People assume they're better than that now, but the silver cord is what keeps most soul connected to their body. When you leave your body, the only thing that brings you back is the silver cord. Because if most people get their silver cord cut, they do go crazy, their body dies, or things happen. Because it's like saying somebody dropped you off in the middle of the jungle in Russia by yourself. You don't know what to do,